This is the Blackout Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Blackout Podcast, where I get to talk to amazing people that do awesome things. And today I have Melanie Adolph.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
No problem.
So, you know what, we've talked a bit, but I decided to save this one for the podcast because I wanted to get my reaction first. Your neck, your tattoo, what's it like? Does it hurt?
All tattoos hurt.
Thank you. Because, people are like, how come I don't have one? Like, I can't stand pain. Like, I can't even stand a needle for the flu shot. So, imagine doing that. But tell me about the next. Like, how long does it take? How does it feel?
It depends on the tattoo artist. Some are a little bit slower than others, so you want to kind of pick one that might be a little quicker on the ball when you have sensitive areas, because they're doing lots of work, right?
Yeah.
But the neck in itself is more of just a pep talk, because when they get a tattoo, they stretch and push down on the skin to make it flat while they're tattooing. So they're pushing down on your neck. So you have to have like a pep talk in your head that you can breathe. You're not being strangled. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. This is fine. But then they'll try and ask you questions like the dentist, but you're like, I can't talk. You're tattooing my neck.
Do you swallow and stuff?
Yeah, you have to keep breathing. You have to breathe through the tattoo. You got to swallow. So it's they'll be telling you stories and talking to you, and you're like, I can't talk right now.
So, this is do you remember the very first tattoo you ever had?
Yeah, I got one when I was 16 without parental consent in a shady shop in Edmonton.
How did you pull that off?
They did not care. They did not care at all. The lady was smoking out her mouth.
My God.
Leaned over me. It was an event.
Where was it and what was it?
That was in Edmonton.
No, what body part?
Oh, it was on my hip. I had that covered many years ago. Because bad choices when you're 16.
What was it?
It was a traditional cartoon baby devil.
So was it smiling?
No, it was not smiling. It was angry. It was the typical flash you get back in the day at the tattoo shops. It wasn't as kind of how you can adapt tattoos now and you can get them custom made. It was just pick that off the wall. And that's what you got.
My God, okay. And why did you decide to get a tattoo?
Because my friends were doing it.
Oh, okay.
I actually told my whole family I would never get a tattoo because they're all fully tattooed, their heads, everything all the way down. And I was like, I'm never doing this. F you guys.
And look at you now.
Yeah, now I'm
So what do they say now?
Well, some of them I don't talk to. And then my sister is tattooed as well, and they're fine. My mom actually hated that I got tattoos the first time I got one. She looked at me and she's like, Mel, you used to be such a beautiful girl. Now look at you. No man will ever want you. And then, but the funny thing is she said this when I was bringing her to meet my boyfriend for the first time. And so he's standing in the corner being like, hi, I'm over here. It was a really great event.
Okay, so, do your tattoos have meaning or it's just whatever?
So my neck has meaning. It's for each of my daughters. It's their names and their hand and their footprint.
Oh,
and then the rest.
How long did it take to do that? That seems super elaborate.
So these two, there was 3 hours and then 3 or 4 and then just a couple hours in between. So not a whole lot, under 15 hours.
You didn't do it all in one day, though?
No. These were over a period of time.
Oh, same person?
No, I actually had one done by my friend in Florida, and then one done here.
How does that with tattoo artists? How does that work? Someone does a part, and then I'm gonna finish up, or is that an issue?
It depends. So if you have an ongoing piece, because you can just get freestanding pieces. Lots of people have piecework all over. So you can go to a bunch of artists and get whatever you want. And sometimes if you're getting a whole sleeve and it's a cohesive thought, it's best to stay with the same tattoo artist. A lot of tattoo artists won't step on other people's toes and complete other artwork because it's their art, so they want to complete it. But there's also people that have piecework sleeves, so they'll get different pieces from everyone. So it kind of just depends on what's going on with that. So you can have it both ways. And so I have piecework and then I have cohesive pieces as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's single and then stuff that goes. So your daughters and then any other one.
No, the rest are just all nature inspired. My whole theme on my body is nature.
Why?
I just really like nature. I like being in nature. I like camping. I like hiking. I'd rather be outside on a trail than in the middle of a city, like, or around people. So it's like I do really well with that. And so it's just like I really wanted to look at beautiful things on my body all the time.
What was the last one you had?
I was redoing my back. So I had my back completely lasered off. And then I had...
Wait. So that's the thing where you like, kind of remove the tattoo that was there.
Yeah.
Is it painful?
Oh, it was worse than the tattoo. It was awful.
So like,
It was
how big
awful.
was the piece on your back?
3/4 of my back.
So now, how many times did it take to remove the thing?
I had 3 sessions.
And how long is each session?
Mine, because it was so large, it was about an hour and a half.
So like you lie down and they'll just bzzz.
Yeah, it was awful.
Is it loud?
It makes like a elastic band sound, like it's like, and it sucks. And so like the second time I actually had to stop
what
her.
does it do exactly? Because like I know the pain puts ink in your skin.
Yeah.
What does the laser pretty much chop your skin off or?
So actually, it's not an open wound with the laser. It penetrates beneath the layers in the skin, where the ink is sitting, and it breaks up the ink, and then your body like absorbs it through like your kidney stuff, and you just pee it out eventually. And it takes about
I'm
3
sorry.
months
So
process.
like there's a period you're peeing like black.
No, you don't see it at all.
Oh, it's just...
it's like nanoparticles. Yeah.
I'm like, that would be weird.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
Okay, so you do this thing three different. So it's like fucking almost 5-6 hours to get it off.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
And now you're putting stuff on it again.
Yeah.
Why did you take the thing I was on, and then how do you decide what you're gonna put on?
So I had my back done originally when I was like 19, 20. I was really young, and it was like just a big tree, and it just wasn't kind of working with the rest of my body.
But it's nature, right?
Yeah, but it's just like it just wasn't working like the artwork with the rest of my body, and so I had it. It wasn't fully removed. It was lightened extremely, like significantly. I had that actually on my Instagram because I had it done here, the removal. And then once it got light enough, the artist was able to put something else over top. So right now I have a big osprey with a snake.
Osprey is a bird,
yeah,
right?
and they're fighting, and then it's like with a big red like moon in the background, and then like there's gonna be a background eventually, but I haven't got that far.
How many hours have you worked on it now?
For just my back?
Yeah, just like just where you are at with the bird and the snake.
She's actually really quick, so we're under 20 hours. She's a really fast tattoo artist.
Wait, this is a really expensive thing because I remember I talked to a tattoo artist and they actually charge hourly. Holy shit.
But you're not going to get it all done at once, right?
Yeah,
like, you can
I
save
know.
up over like a couple months. And, like, some people spend money on clothes and some people spend it on stuff, and I spend my money on tattoos.
Fair enough. So you mentioned you had your first tattoo in Edmonton. You're not from Halifax?
Nope. I moved to Halifax 7 years ago.
Oh, why did you move to Halifax?
Just because
Like
I wanted
that's
to.
like a huge travel.
Yeah, well, so I grew up in Alberta all over, and then I moved to Toronto when my second daughter was 3 months old, to kind of get to know my dad more, because I'd never grown up with him, and he lives in Toronto.
Okay.
And then I just did not enjoy living in Toronto.
Okay.
So
You didn't
lived
enjoy
there,
living in Toronto, but how was like meeting your dad?
Oh, I had met him before, just like a way to like get to know him more,
Gotcha,
like actually
okay.
be in the same city, and that went fine.
Okay.
And then Toronto just wasn't for me. Like I had to like drive
neither.
like 3 hours to get anywhere to walk, and it was traffic. It's great to visit,
I agree with you.
but
I
I
agree
can't.
with you.
It's too big. I'm too big of a city for me
Yeah,
to enjoy.
it's too much. Like when I usually go for festivals, oh Jesus, Justin is gonna kill me. I usually go to festivals or like to pitch stuff, but it's like go spend a couple of days, come back home.
Yeah, it's fun to visit. There's new things, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't have to like fight the traffic for every day of my life.
Okay, but then still, you went from Alberta to Toronto. You could have, there's still places you'd have gone to before you decided on Halifax.
Just I wanted to be near the ocean because I've never lived near the ocean before, and I didn't know anyone here, so I figured, why not? Let's do it.
And then you moved. Like, did it take you long to form a community here?
I'm kind of a bit of a loner. I don't have a lot of friends. I probably have like less than 5 people I would say are I'm friends with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I know people and I'm kind of acquaintances with people, but I don't really hang out with anyone beyond like one or two people. And that's like very like every few months. I tend to like just like do solo hikes or stick to myself, or I don't know. I'm a weirdo when it comes to that. I understand social interaction really well, and so I've always been kind of a loner.
But like your Instagram is a lot of people.
There's a lot of people on there, and I don't understand how I kind of got that platform. I used to post a lot more like risque photos, and I did a few boudoir shots with some local photographers because they asked, and I just wanted to like have a new experience because I'd never done that before, and that kind of got some traction. But then people stuck around, so I guess they're enjoying whatever I'm posting nowadays, which isn't a whole lot. Like,
and that is why I reached out to you. Oh God, and that's why I reached out to you. CPTSD.
Yeah.
What's the C?
So it's complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So post-traumatic stress disorder can come from just like a event or multiple events. Like you might see it with like military or like people been in car accidents or like pretty much anything. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder is a series of events over a long period of time. So I went through a lot of stuff in my childhood and formative years, and even some like into my adult years that like kind of like affected me negatively, and it caused all these other issues afterwards. So I just got diagnosed with that last year.
Oh wow.
So I always thought it was just anxiety. I always thought I was just an anxious person, and that's what stopped me from like wanting to go and hang out with people and wanting to like form relationships and wanting to do a lot of anything, and like I would always be like concerned, but like it ended up just being like we figured out it's because of all of this. So now I do therapy, and we work on better coping mechanisms and like staying present and being mindful of what's happening in the world and with myself, and it's been going better, a lot better, so that's nice. Like I'm here. So
thank you for coming. So let's rewind a bit. What led you, so you felt you're dealing with anxiety, but what made you decide to go and actually find out like what the actual diagnosis is?
So it kind of like I always had my own form of coping mechanisms, and I kind of just like made excuses for like my behavior.
What were some of the coping mechanisms?
Like me, like I'd have to always drive. I wouldn't like go places where other people were driving. If I went somewhere, I wouldn't be with large crowds. I'd need to know where the exits were. I'd have to like control what was happening a lot. I barely sleep, and that's still an issue where it's like I'll get up and like walk around 20 times a night and check all the doors and windows and just like stuff like that. Like, and then it started to hinder my life and become an issue. So that's when I decided to seek help and seek therapy. And the first therapist wasn't a good fit, and then the second therapist was a much better fit. So that's who I go now.
So, I mean, how do you decide what's a good fit?
It's just like I didn't find like the first one that was really getting anywhere. Like I didn't feel like I was getting any sort of coping mechanisms or anything that was helpful. They just seemed to want to talk about the experiences and like relive them over and over and over. And I'm like, I'm already doing this in my head 20,000 times. I don't want to continue doing this. Like that, those aren't going to go away. I would like to know how to like move on, so I'm not trapped in that cycle of that feeling and that emotion and that memory and those flashbacks. And then this other one, she doesn't really focus on the why I am the way I am. It's more of how do I manage when things pop up? How do I deal with this anxiety? What can I do for coping mechanisms? What can I do when I'm feeling anxious or agitated or scared? And we're working on my sleep, because that's a big thing where I barely sleep, which you kind of need to function in life a little bit. So those are ones that we're working on to just like have like a better life balance and not have it control me as much, which is preferable.
So what are some of the coping mechanisms you've had now from this therapist? So
we worked on like the grounding techniques and being more mindful and breathing techniques, and just like also some visualization techniques of like when things are happening. I can like stick them on a conveyor belt. They're in a box. I recognize that they're happening there, because something that we figured out that I was doing is I was trying to stay busy, and I was trying to like always bake or go on hikes or do whatever to not acknowledge the feelings. So now it's more of accepting that the feelings are happening, they're there, and then moving on from there. And so sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's harder if there's things happening that make it difficult. But it's been a lot better. Like, I've been able to, like, kind of snap out of it faster, or, like, at least recognize that's going on. Be like, okay, now I'm feeling anxious. This is why I'm feeling anxious. And then I can either talk myself out of it, like, this is a real anxiety, or, like, this is never going to happen. Like, you don't need to worry about this weird what if of the world ending or something. Like, it's not going on right now, so take a chill. So that's been better.
So I think it was March. And was it March? Anyway, COVID happened. How was that for you?
It was actually, like, because I'm already such, like, a loner, like, so I didn't really, like, miss any of the community. Like, everyone's, like, on Zoom meetings. I'm like, no, I do Zoom therapy once every 2 weeks. Everyone's like, I miss hanging out with friends. I'm like, okay. My biggest thing was, like, that you can't go on a nature trail. I was like, but why? I'm not around anyone. Can I please just go outside? Like, just let me go on a hike. That was my issue. It was harder for my kids, obviously, because no school and no friends, and then they're like, why can't we just go? I'm like, I know. I would also like you to go outside and to do things. So that was difficult when the lockdown was, like, so much more extreme. But I was already doing school online, so I went back to school full time, so I didn't have to adjust there.
What are you studying?
I'm taking the business administration accounting
nice.
with NSCC, and then I plan on continuing that.
Accounting is the devil. I mean, you have to do it, but that's why you kind of pay for someone to do it. Because I remember, no. And it's not that I'm bad with numbers. It's just, they have to balance, and what the fuck, man?
I'm good with puzzles, though. So I'm like, if something doesn't balance, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll figure this out. Like, I'll get down to the bottom of it. So
yeah, give me a tip for puzzles. Do you start in the edges, then build inside, or do you just fucking build pieces as they come?
Depends on the puzzle. I have one of those infinity puzzles where they're all the same color.
What the what? Why would you even do that to yourself?
Because it's a challenge.
Why would no? Like I think I'd freak out. Like so there's one that Monica has is the Beatles. You know when they cross that the thing
the sidewalk.
No, yeah, they do the crosswalk.
Yeah.
So there's that photo, but that kind of you can kind of see, oh shoot, this is this guy's pants, or that's that thing. But like, why would you do one where everything is the same? How would you even figure it out?
Well, because all the pieces are actually different sizes and shapes. So you start find a middle piece and you kind of build out from there, and it's all circular. So you have to keep going.
It's freaking me out just listening to you say that. No, man. Okay, so let's go. So the infinity ones, how do you handle those ones?
I do it in the middle and then keep going. It's nice and calming, so you don't have to do it all in one sitting. So if I'm feeling anxious, I can go do that, and then it makes me focus on the puzzle.
How do you keep it there, especially with kids?
It just sits on the table.
Okay.
On the dining table, hangs out.
And then if it's one where it's like a photo, it's a photo.
Yeah, you can take pieces and put them together and whatnot. But I'll do the edges on the photos first.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I'll build in.
Yeah, you do the edges first. And I don't do puzzles because they freak me out. And I think people that do puzzles, you do not want to mess with them because one, they are patient. Two, they are great with strategy, so they'll always win. And then three, I get confused. I get confused. I've lived in Halifax for a while and I still use a GPS for where my sense of direction is warped. Okay, so you do puzzles to cope. So your children, how many do you have now?
I have two.
How old are they?
11 and 8.
And do you find that living with CPST, how does that affect your being a mother?
It doesn't really affect it so much. It'll affect it in the sense of if they want to go to a big event, I'll ask their dad to take them. Okay. Or something like swimming, I'll ask their dad to take them. So I feel like I miss out a little bit on that stuff because it'll stop me from doing those things. Mm-hmm. But other than that, small events I'll take them to. We'll still do all the normal things. We'll do everything else kids will do, or we'll go to if we go to a movie or to the museum, we always go during the week, during the day when people
it's not so busy,
yeah. So it's I just kind of work around it so they're still getting everything that they want. A lot of my anxiety will focus on them though, because my anxiety from the events that happen in my life, it'll worry about if that'll happen to them. So I have to just have pep talks in my head that they still have to be kids and they still have to have a normal kid life and make mistakes. So it's the big thing is my kids started walking to school this year, and so we had to go through all the rules of what happens when you're walking to school, because it's a 20-25 minute walk, and it's something that just needs to happen. She needs to have that like grown up responsibility and that sense of like she did this, so it just needs to happen, and it's just a normal thing. But my anxiety is just like, woo,
Yeah. I can't even
pops
imagine.
off.
Yeah, but like, so we're doing great in Atlantic Canada, and it's wonderful, but like it is still existing in the world, Corona. And then the children, they are going back to school.
Right.
How do you handle that?
It's actually, I volunteer at my kids' school too, so I do morning care. But it's
What is that?
So there's kids that come before, so between 8 and 8:40 before school starts. So I help with morning care and like volunteer there.
All right.
But they've actually been really good. Like they're just so excited to be back at school, so they don't mind wearing masks. And they're getting a lot more outdoor classes. So like they're always like doing gym is 100% outside right now, and the teachers are like, "Okay, let's just go outside." All the windows are open in the school to allow airflow, and they're able to like put their desks like 6 feet apart, and so it's actually like they're all really pumped, and they'll remind me about their checklist before they get to school because they have to go through the checklist. Like, are you gonna ask us the checklist? I'm like, if you're asking me, you know the answers. Like,
that's so cool.
I'm like, we haven't gone anywhere. I'm like, are you feeling different? They're like, no, but you still need to ask me. I'm like, okay. So I go through the checklist. Do you have a fever? Do you feel okay? And so they're doing that to me, so they're keeping me accountable. And like, they're like, are you wearing a mask? I'm like, yeah, I got my mask. Like, I don't even have to remind them. They're all ready to go. So they're enjoying it, so that's good.
And like the CPTSD, that's like with motherhood, but like having relationships,
it can make things difficult because like I could either have like an under or an overreaction
in what way?
to things. So like underreactions, like something could happen to somebody and like they might be like, oh, that's awful or whatever, and like I'll be like, yeah, that's awful, but like I won't know how to process it, and so like I won't maybe give enough attention to it that needs to be given, or I won't be able to recognize what's happening in the moment, so I have to like do a little bit of reflection and come back. Or I could have an overreaction and just like get like really agitated, but like I'm getting better at understanding that. So like in the moment, if I'm starting to feel agitated, I'll go, I'm feeling super like agitated, I need to just be away for a little bit. I need to like take some space. I need to do this. It's nothing on you. This is like a me issue. And like just having that like vulnerability and like honesty has been really helpful, and transparency for that. But like it used to like in partners, like with my anxiety and stuff, like in the getting up and checking, like now I make a checklist instead of getting up and checking, so I can look at my checklist at night, which has been helpful. And so like that used to be an issue with partners. So
like do you have a partner now?
Yeah.
Do you live together?
No, we don't live together.
Have you ever like lived with a partner?
Oh yeah.
And like how would they process when you used to wake up at night?
He just like dealt with it. It used to really drive him crazy because I would clean like obsessively for like 2 hours every night to try and like bring myself down and calm myself down before going to bed, or I'd get up and check things, and he was a heavy sleeper, so he didn't really notice too much, which was helpful because there's nothing he can do about it, like nothing that helps. And like so and then my current partner, he like will sometimes wake up when I have panic attacks and like try and like calm me down, and other times he's just like sleeping and like dead to the world, which is fine. But I just myself, like I know they can't do anything, so it's like I'm not expecting them to like wake up or do anything because it's just the way it is. It's just kind of the process, and I'm trying to lessen that a little bit.
But you know, there's a thing, and this is like, you know, guys, we are stupid. Like we always feel we can fix something. You know, it sucks when you know you can't fix something.
I actually say that too. I'm like, you can't fix this, because like he'll be like, I want to help. I'm like, I appreciate that, but you can't fix this. Like you just need to like either listen and go, okay. Do you want like a cookie? Like, do you want me to give you space? Like that type of thing. But like he gets frustrated because he does want to fix it, and I'm like, you can't fix this. Like this is just the way it is. I'm just going through the process. Like it's gotten better, but there's definitely like still stuff that I'm working on. And
how long have you been together now?
Almost 2 years.
Yeah, you know, I find that time also helps because, you know, like the first 3 months, it's like, oh my God, the fuck. But by 6, 8, 10, 2 years, it's like you kind of, you know, it's just what it is. It's this person, and you're accepting them with all they are, right?
Right, yeah. And it's like, that's what it is. You just have to accept everything for what it is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is like, as long as like, if you have issues, as long as people are working on the issues and making some sort of progress, like that's great but it doesn't happen overnight. Change doesn't happen overnight. And especially with stuff with mental health, like it can be a long kind of road and different things can pop up even when you think something's settled and something else. So it's like you're never quite stopping like learning or stopping changing. So it's like you just have to like not be put into that box, which is really important, I find.
Yeah, no. And what are some things that you do to make a relationship work?
He's really busy with like his kids and his job and stuff, so like I try and like be accommodating in the sense of like going to his house because he has to like deal with a million things and going to work, or like I'll book like, or he'll book something and he'll be like, okay, can you meet me at work at 6 and we'll go for dinner? And like it's just like it's more like logistics type thing. And like before COVID, like he'd like to make like little weekend trips away because he has like a bajillion miles from the visa from his work, so he get free trips. So he's like, let's go here, which is really busy. So like we did that back in February. We went to New York, which was hard for me.
Were you coming back during COVID?
Well, this was before all that COVID stuff happened. Like COVID was there, but like everyone wasn't sure what was going on. So we went to New York, and then like 4 weeks later, we got shut down. I was like, oh man, I'm so happy I didn't get COVID while we were gone. Like we were in a very busy place.
Yeah, like, and New York was kind of epicenter of it.
Yeah,
like. Holy shit, I remember like there was a kind of a drone shot of just like, oh man, New York had the worst of it. One of the worst, at least in the US, New York had a really, really not so good experience. So I reached out to you because like, you know, Instagram, like you said, you have photos of you there and stuff. But beyond the photos is the captions. Your captions are so personal.
Yeah.
Like, what made you decide to do that first?
I feel there's too much positivity sometimes on social media, and it kind of turns into the toxic where everyone's like, wow, they're like, life is great, like they look great, they're doing all these great things, everything must be perfect, and that's just not real life.
Yeah,
like everyone's going through shit, everyone's dealing with shit, and I kind of got sick of seeing just constant positivity, because I'm like, that's not real life. You're not going to tell me you didn't have maybe like an argument, or you got annoyed with someone, or like your partner did something that ticked you off that day, and you don't have to say every little thing.
No, yeah.
But like I think it's just people aren't being as transparent as what they maybe should be. Like sometimes like I really appreciate I follow accounts where they're like, they might have like 90% positive, and then they're just like, you know what, I'm having a really tough time, this is going on, and that just, you know, they're human, and it's nice because you can relate to them on that level, and you're like, hey, I feel that way too, and then you feel less alone. And then when I started posting like about like my anxiety, my CPTSD, and the mental health journey, people were like, I really appreciate this. And some people have reached out and said that they went and asked for help because of that, because they were feeling so alone, they didn't feel like they could talk to anyone, and hearing other people that didn't seem like they struggled actually having struggles was helpful to them. And so even if it helps one person, I'm glad that is helping someone, because it needs to happen. Like I'm just so tired of the constant in your face, everything is sunshine and rainbows, when everything is not sunshine and rainbows.
I
like,
agree.
That's not how it is in the real
world. Monica always says, like, when someone just puts the best photo, you know they are going through some hard times. I'm like, okay, maybe, but like when you see that, you think about it, it seems true, because like there's no way you are that happy, you know. Life happens and we deal with it, yeah, but like we can't always say, oh no, life is golden and golden and golden and golden, when it's not.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes like people are trying to like say that to themselves so that maybe their situation isn't as bad. It's like a way to kind of disassociate from maybe what's going on in their lives. But that also might be disservice for them at the time, but they're just not there yet to like to understand that, or they just don't, like, you know, it's TMI. Some people don't want to share everything in their life. True. But I'm a very blunt human being.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that is so very like, true.
I'm like, I'm what you like. What you see is what you get. You can ask me anything. If I don't want to talk about something, I'll just say no. I don't want to talk about it. Or I don't want to discuss this. But I'm a very open book. Like, I will sit there and like list all the crappy stuff that I've done in my life and all the good stuff, because it's like, the bad comes with the good, and like I'm not an angel. I'm definitely probably a villain in a few people's stories, which is fine because everyone's a villain in someone's story.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
I just think like talking about it is where that growth is, and like people get stuck in a box. They're like, you're only this person. If you hurt someone or you did something good, they'll only think of you in that way, and they won't allow you to grow or have that growth. But like, I'm 34 now. I'm not the same person I was a year ago, 10 years ago. Like if I was the same 20-year-old, this would be not a great time in my life. Like, like you're always going to go through periods of growth. And I think it's really important to show other people that that's what's happening. And I don't know. It's like I said, I don't have a lot of friends, so it's like I don't really have anyone to impress. I don't really care. Like people are gonna take it or leave it. They can unfollow. They can follow. I'm not sitting there taking out sponsored ads to like tell people to follow me. I'm just there hanging out. You can come around or not come around.
Yo, man, I love, and that is why I reached out to you. I'm having a fun time, and we are kind of rolling up to the end, but I have this one last question for you though. So picture someone out there. It doesn't have to be exactly what you're facing or challenges you have, but say something similar. What kind of advice would you share?
I just think people need to get a little more comfortable with asking for help, and maybe not even necessarily help, just being or putting up a boundary of being like, I have too much on my plate. I can't do this. Or I would really like it if someone could help me with this. Or just finding anything. Because, like, that's the thing is, like, I had a really hard time asking for help. Like, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm just like, I just have to do it. I'm just going to do it on my own because that's all I knew. And so it was hard to go to the doctor. It was hard to put the steps in motion. And, like, just talking to people, and like not everyone's gonna listen and not everyone's gonna care, which is fine, and you're not entitled to anyone else's time. So I think like a really good thing sometimes is asking people like, do you have space to talk about this right now? Like, do you have space to like hold this for me or to talk to me about this? And some people might say yes, some people might say no, but then not to take that personally because they're also going through all of their own stuff, that you can't take what they say is personal all the time. Like even if they're having a bad day and say they get agitated with you, it might be because they're having a terrible time that they just don't want to talk about. And like so many people internalize that and go, well, fuck that person, they're a bitch or they're an asshole, not realizing that that person might have 50 other things happening and they didn't even realize that they were rude to you or did something that upset you. And it's just like having a conversation, like communication is 100% above board and what is important in life.
Communication is super important. Man, Melanie, thank you so much for coming, sharing, and I can't wait to, so when do you think the back will be done?
Oh, I have no idea. Right now, I'm, living that mom and school life and student life, so
yeah, it's true.
That stuff's expensive. So, I don't know, a couple years, maybe?
Maybe. Yeah. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks for having me.
This is the Blackout Podcast. Thanks for listening.